Welcome to the UNSECURITY podcast. Each week, Evan and Brad give an inside look at current information security news, breaches, best practices, and other things you should know to improve your information security. Here are your hosts, FRSecure's Evan Francine and Brad Nye.
Good morning, and welcome to episode 40 of the UNSECURITY podcast. My name is Brad Nye, and I'm your host this week. I'm back again. A couple weeks off, but I'm ready to go. Joining me this week as co-host is Evan Francine. Hi, Evan.
Hi, Brad. Welcome back.
Thank you. You can tell I had a couple weeks off because we had to redo this entry.
Yeah, and you seem like you have a little more energy this morning.
Yeah, feeling good. It was weird to get up that early. The last, last 2 Mondays got to sleep in. Sleep in being relative.
It's good to have you back because it's not like the last two guys weren't awesome, right? That would be Ben, in quotes. I was doing air quotes.
Yes.
And John Harmon, Security Studio, FRSecure president. It was good to have them here. But, we started this back in November.
Yeah, November.
So it's good. It's good to have you back, man.
Yeah. Well, it was nice. I got to actually listen to the last two episodes because, I don't listen to myself. I can't do that. But
so what did you think?
It was good.
Yeah.
It's really good. Yeah. It's fun. It was different to listen to it.
Well, this is episode 40. And so we've had 39 prior episodes. I think I've listened to a total of maybe 2 minutes because of the same reason.
Yeah.
I can't stand listening to myself. I can't stand looking at myself.
I know.
On TV.
It's pretty bad.
Yep.
But you think about it. It's 40 episodes. I've missed 2.
The last 2?
Are those the only 2? No, I missed one other one. I missed 3.
Okay.
I don't know. It was all because I was out of the office. And you missed 2? 1.
I think I just missed one. And it's because you kicked me out.
Because of our vacation. That's pretty good, though.
You told me I couldn't come.
It's not bad. I'll take that.
Right. And then there was the one when I was in, where was I?
Oh, yeah, you were in
San Jose or something.
No, you were in
Anaheim.
You're right. There was that one. And then we did the ones from when you were writing in February.
Oh, yeah. That was from the Cancun
Cancun.
Starbucks.
And we couldn't get good audio because the kids were playing Fortnite or whatever. All right.
That was my favorite place to write. I love writing there. I've been looking for the same sort of place here in Minnesota since then. Can't find it.
Not finding it.
No, because it was such a cool place.
We got up to Duluth and up north a little bit by the lakes, right?
I did. Yep. But I got
not quite the same.
No, well, because I got distracted. People wanted other stuff done.
No. Yeah, you got to just completely unplug.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's lots of stuff going on. Security Studio is going well.
That's good. Getting
investor decks done and, stuff like that. I've never done any investor deck before. So seeking investors is not something I'm, an expert at. So, but I'm learning.
Yeah. It's got to be a totally different, thing from what you normally do.
I know, right? In being a security guy, that's what I do. We have our first board of directors meeting for Security Studio on Friday, and it's
very cool.
Well, sort of, but I don't. How do you do a board of directors meeting? We'll figure it out.
That's funny because I know you've presented to board of directors so many times. That's second nature to you, but this is different.
Right. Well, now I'm like one of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
You're one of them.
Mm-hmm. I'm like chairman of the board. It's funny to even say that.
Yeah, I want to make some sort of a smart-ass, snarky comment on that, but...
Yeah, right. Well, the board meeting is here in our boardroom, so it's 9 o'clock Friday morning. If you want to just stop in and say something stupid.
Just be like, has he drawn cartoons or something? Does he have pants on?
Yeah. Evan, got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Brad, I'm in a board meeting. Chill. I'm like a real business guy here. Come on.
I'm trying to come up with something. Oh, okay.
I'm busy businessing.
Business. The Lego movie, the business. Is this working?
Yeah.
That's going to be Evan. That's what I'll hijack your presentation and slide that
right
in.
Well, and all these board members have been on boards of directors. They are on boards of directors.
Okay.
So they're going to come in and here's this guy, chairman of the board, and be like, who the hell? No.
Shorts and a t-shirt and
Yeah, I think they'll have
like
fun.
sandals.
We'll get good work done. I'm excited.
It'll be a different board than probably what they're used to.
Yeah, but that's us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everything we do is sort of different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
People like it.
Yep, I agree. All right, so we'll jump back in here. I was off 2 weeks ago. Last week I was in the office, did some training, did the EC.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Oh, yeah,
I went through
right.
the EC Council's Certified Incident Handler. We're, expanding our IR program here. So, we've had our standard emergency response services forever, but we're trying to expand on that. We're just seeing the demand. So, kind of the thought is we'll go through EC councils, and we know what the SANS training is, but it's god awful expensive.
Right.
So I went through the first one, and Oscar, who we'll be talking to here in a little bit.
Yeah, he'll be our guest next week.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's going to do their certified forensic investigator one, and we'll talk and see if it's worth.
Oh, he's going to do the CFIH at
whatever.
SANS?
No, the EC Council.
Oh, okay.
They have the certified incident handler and the certified forensic investigator.
Oh,
so they have kind of like a 2-tier for that.
Okay.
So he's going to do that. We're testing to see, does it make sense to anybody on our IR team? That's just something we put them through the first month,
Sure.
right? They go through it and get some of that. Or is it worth it to pay the extra? It's about 3 times as much to do the SANS as to do both of those. So it was interesting.
Rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being the best training you've ever taken, 1 being the worst.
So here's where I'm struggling. It was very foundational. And
so on 1 to 10.
Man, honestly, I'd probably give it a 4 or 5, but I don't know if that's because of I've been doing this so long.
I know,
right?
And you're such a nice guy, so it's fun to sit here across from you and watch you struggle. Like 4, 5.
Well, they had good things in there, right? Like how to look for stuff using the sysinternals tools for potential malware. Well, I've done that, or how to look through log files on Exchange, or how to look through the event logs, how to find which is really important stuff to know. But I've done it for so long. I'm like, yeah, I know how to do this. Like,
so it's really the basics.
It was really the basics. I'll say this. I was disappointed they didn't have more around how to actually, doing the recording of the stuff, like the process.
Oh, okay.
It was more like, here's how you can launch this tool. They used like NJRAT for a remote access Trojan. All right, here, set it up, run it, and then go over to this other machine, and here's how you can find it. Right? Okay. Here's this indicators you can look for, which is really nice, right? But it didn't say anything about logging activity or any of those kind of fundamentals. Now, I'm hoping that's in that second piece with the forensic investigator.
Yeah.
We'll see what Oscar says, but
if you're looking for like the base training to just get on the team as a junior analyst, maybe it suffices for that.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
And if we can do, like I said, we can do both those trainings, at a fraction of the cost.
Right.
At least it gets a foundation, gives people a chance to get kind of ramped up and thinking that way. Because a lot of the people we have coming in are IT focused.
Right.
So.
And there's a pretest, right? And I heard something like Tom took the pretest and got 97.
They had like an assessment on their team, on their website, and I was, It
was like, do I have to do the training? Can you just give me the cert?
I know. I did it. The grammar wasn't very good on some of it. It was weird, but
Englishing is hard.
It is.
Yep.
But
I'm an author, so I get it right.
Well, actually, you get to make things up. So
I had like 5 editors.
That's funny. But we did the 50. It was a 50 question assessment, like kind of a practice. Where are you at? And Tom got a 96, and the other guys and everybody passed.
Right.
It would have been passing. I'm assuming the actual test will be a little bit more difficult, but that's a good sign from our team that we're on top of this stuff.
Right.
So, but we did have a couple of IR calls come in last week. Three. One of them, the guy, they were like, "Yep, let's do it, send it over," and then he filed a claim with his insurance, and insurance said, "Yep, we'll handle all the stuff with the incident response. You just have to wait." And we haven't heard anything, and he hasn't heard any update. That was Wednesday.
What kind of incident was it?
Oh man, I've been trying to remember the details on that one. It's a problem when you have three come in.
Right. Yeah.
They were the ones.
Was it ransomware or was it
unauthorized access? Yes. Yeah. So it was a managed service provider that had ransomware that came in. They got in. They found them. They think they got in through like the ConnectWise Secure Connect or whatever that exploit was.
Yeah.
They think that's how they got in, but they don't know that was what they wanted us to help and figure out. But then, they were able to determine that the attacker got into their cloud backup appliance as the admin and uncheck delete the cloud storage. They were able to catch it before the secondary cloud storage. So it was backed up to the cloud and then replicated. And they were able to catch it before the replication was deleted.
Oh my God.
So they were able to back up from secondary backups. But it was...
But if they had not have caught it, it would have gotten the secondary as well?
Yep. And they had at least 10 plus customers that would have been affected or that were affected, plus their internal stuff.
Oh my God.
So it could have been really, really bad. So he really wants to work with us, but we're waiting on insurance. So
that's been how many days? What day was that?
That was
like Wednesday?
Tuesday or Wednesday.
So here we are 5 days later, 6 days later.
Now they're up, so it's not as necessarily critical. They were able to recover everything from backup, but is it still there?
So why do they want to file a claim?
Because of they were going to file one for the recovery and the cost because their customers were impacted. So there's damages and stuff. And I guess and then the cost for the investigation.
Well, it sounds like the insurance company is probably not at all interested in attribution, because they're walking all over whatever's there for the last 5-6 days, potentially.
No, I know. It's going to be not necessarily good. Now he did say that they were able to pull a bunch of the logs and do have those stored off, but
interesting.
We'll see what could happen there. Another one, insurance again. We had an incident that we worked on in April, May, ended in kind of early June because the guy wanted to go through insurance. We finally heard back from insurance last week, 2 months.
Oh my gosh.
It was June 13th was the last communication we had because he was going through insurance and the lawyer for the insurance called us last week. It's
interesting.
Like, what? Really? And that one was active.
Is the law firm, we don't have to say the name, but do you remember the name of the law firm?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a big national?
You know what? I'll be honest. I didn't even look it up because I was in the middle of about 10 different things.
I've worked with, I don't know, a dozen or so lawyers from different law firms that work with insurance companies. But this is a good topic, and maybe it's a good thing to write about, or it's a good thing to have in a future podcast. Is I don't think people understand how insurance works with what they call it, cyber insurance. I hate that name, but because the way you think that the insurance company works for you, I know the insurance company works for the insurance company,
right?
And they don't want to pay a claim if they don't have to.
No.
And if they can drag it out, they'll drag it out. They don't want answers like you do. So like they may not want to identify how this thing happened.
Right.
Right? They just want to, how do we remediate as quickly as possible and pay as little as possible?
Right. And the answer is, I don't know how to remediate because I don't know the full extent yet. You cut us off at the knees.
Right. So that's why, even if you have cyber insurance, that doesn't mean you shouldn't still have an incident response capability.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a time when to contact insurance companies, and there's a time when not to.
Right.
And I think, there's so many things to talk about with insurance, because I think that the number one thing that invalidates claims is timeliness of reporting. So
right.
Once you find out, the clock does start ticking where you're going to have to make that decision on, do I file an insurance claim or not? So knowing that, but then also what investigation can you do before insurance maybe gets involved?
Yeah, let's actually validate that it was, in fact.
Right. And in some cases, do you have to wait for the insurance company to call back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, is it going to invalidate the claim if you do your own incident investigation waiting for insurance to come? Because I haven't seen that invalidate insurance claims. I've seen insurance still pay out on those instances.
We've definitely had them where they called and we got started. Now, I think it's that third party, right? I think if you were doing it yourself, they might have some issues. But if you bring in a firm.
Well, insurance companies have all negotiated too, right? Preferred rates with insurance or with the incident handlers.
Yeah.
And even then, if you've negotiated a preferred rate, which means you're going to pay less, the incident handling company has margins to make as well, right? So think about what level of incident handler you're going to get assigned to your case, because you're probably not going to get their A team.
No, well, and you've been through it where they want you to basically find how do we invalidate or not have to pay out, right? They want to find the mistakes, not the problem.
Yeah, because there's many clients of ours that, yes, you have a cyber insurance, and yes, they have an incident handling capability, but still get an incident handling capability yourself, whether you get a third party like FRSecure or get somebody else. Yeah. Because they will work for you. We will work for you as opposed to the insurance companies working for the insurance company.
Right. Yeah. Have that managed service have that capacity to have that incident handler involved on those calls to,
Right. Because it's not all cut and dry. It's not like I just call the insurance company like I do in a car.
Right.
They send out an adjuster. Yep. There's a dent in the car.
So funny story on that. I actually was talking to somebody else. And they said that they had somebody call in, and their insurance company, when they called to file a claim, said, "Okay, we'll have an adjuster come out in a couple of days for a cyber incident."
They take some pictures, and
he was like, "What are they going to do?" Like, yeah, you've got computers. Do you take a picture of the lock screen? Like, I don't
know.
I wasn't anyway.
So be warned.
Those two.
So those two, both insurance held both of those up. One for a couple of months, and
the other for a week at this point. And then the other one was another kind of a smaller MSP, and somebody got into the email, and there's a $75,000 wire transfer, but he had changed the passwords and didn't really see the need to investigate further because he didn't see any rules that. I was like, well, that's your call. If you can defend that to your customers after they got in and got away with $75,000 and it's lost,
right?
That's your call.
Well, the fact is they had an account.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, OWA might be one way in.
Yeah.
But
who knows?
Do you have a VPN with single factor authentication?
Yeah, nobody. I don't know. Didn't really go into that detail, but it's like, that's probably not okay. It's good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunate.
So, and then we had another one before.
What happened now?
We had some USBs for malware threat analysis.
Yeah. Did they sign?
They have not signed yet, but I do have
we have the evidence.
I have the evidence.
Is there a chain of custody or anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Chain of custody, pictures, and locked up, and
just
hanging tight.
When I did, so my first incident response job was at U.S. Bank, and it was back in 2000-ish. They didn't have an incident response capability. They didn't have an incident believe it or not, back then. So we started from scratch, and I was like, and I guess it's a good quality to have, but to be like ultra anal in forensic investigations. So whenever I got called to capture evidence, I took a picture of the office. I took a picture of everything exactly the way I found it, because you just never know what opposing counsel is going to bring up or what you have to defend.
So the surface was fantastic, because I just, into my OneNote for the investigation, just took the pictures of the front and the back of the bag.
Perfect.
And then it came in unsigned, and then we signed it and took a picture of it signed. And
nice.
So I know, there's no question about what came in or anything, but so that'll probably be, I don't think they signed yet, but obviously that'll be one that'll be kind of fun to play with, for sure. Test out the new forensics computer we got set up. So that'll be fun.
That will be fun. It's funny. I mean, incident response, for somebody who's done it for as long as we have, it just seems so second nature, but it's amazing how when you see other people, make the decisions they make, that it's just not
right.
They don't speak that language, man.
It's so easy. I'll be honest. I catch myself going, "Oh, wait, document the times." Because you just know. I'm like, "Oh, I got to do this. And start, even if it's just pulling logs. Okay, at this time I pulled these logs from this and uploaded them here. Did this. This is how I got it off of their servers to mine, and it's a copy of it and all that stuff. Because you just know what to do and what you're looking for.
It's better to over document. I mean, that's the rule, right? If you're going too fast to document everything, you're going too fast. And and there's so many other pieces to it too. Many of our incident investigations don't include legal counsel, but sometimes they do, right? And having the discernment as an incident handler to know, what, we might want to get legal counsel involved, and we might want to work under privilege here. Novice, without having experience, a lot of novice investigators don't have that. Yeah,
we had a call 3 weeks ago, and maybe about 3 weeks, and they were explaining what happened, and it was unauthorized access into the EHR EMR system. And we're like, contact your lawyer,
right,
and then call us back, because we got potential. We don't know the scope of it. We don't know what this is going to mean, but you probably want legal involved on this one because of HIPAA and the ramifications.
Right. And there might be a criminal matter.
Right. We don't know what's going on here, but I'm happy to work with them. We can do that. And that one, it turned out their legal counsel wanted them to check some stuff first and before they went with us, but I haven't heard anything. So, but I'm okay to not get one and have it go through legal and let the lawyers defend that decision than go through it and then go, ooh, time out. We got a problem.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's I like being cautious, but also not. I mean, that's the cool thing about, I think you and I is we're very methodical. You think things through before you do things, right? It's like, can I see 5 steps down the road? If I make this decision, are there branches in the logic here that might lead me down to like, oh crap, I should have done this, and then maybe I'll just do that now.
Yeah, and like in that one, they identified it and disabled the access for those accounts, so there was no ongoing threat. They knew exactly kind of what the background was.
Right. So you've taken the urgency out of it.
Right. Let's slow down. Let's talk with legal, and then we're happy to help if they want to get involved.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell, some incident investigators just go way too damn fast, and they panic, and they don't bring any sense of just calm to the situation. Just slow down. Think it through.
That's always been one of my kind of the strengths, is to when it's chaos, it's just like, all right, I got this, and just slowing everything down, like in disaster recovery or incident response. So I like it.
Well, chances are pretty good nobody's going to die, but now we're talking defibrillators and cars and everything else being hacked. So
yeah,
that may not hold true any.
That could be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so that's a good segue.
Yeah. That's one of those things you ride, right?
Yeah. So
spelled different.
Yeah. Into the Hacks and Hops coming up here in September. So September 19th at the US Bank Stadium.
Yeah.
At one of their big rooms in there. I don't remember which one.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. So, you want to talk a little bit about the panel since, you are the moderator. The moderator.
What does a moderator do? Just ask
Moderates.
questions, right? That's the easy job because I don't have to actually answer the questions.
It's
just ask them.
Yeah. And then you get to make snarky comments and jokes.
It's like, that's a dumb answer. Well, let's go to the next panelist. No, I wouldn't do that. Yeah. So Hacks and Hops. This is our fourth Hacks and Hops. Mm-hmm. These are events that FRSecure puts on. I think they're awesome events because people can come and learn and network and drink beer and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And if you don't drink beer, like I don't drink beer, I don't drink, but I can drink iced tea.
There you go.
That's cool. Can you imagine if I was drinking beer up there, what that would be like as a moderator?
I would say it'd be more entertaining, but I don't know. You're pretty entertaining as it is.
I don't know. Yeah, but I am really excited about the panelists.
Mm-hmm.
So the three panelists, I know them. Two of them I know very well. The other one I don't know really well. I know of her, but I haven't had a great opportunity to collaborate much. But JD Hansen is one of our panelists. She's the CISO for Code 42, which is a pretty awesome company here in Minnesota. And I'm really interested to talk to her because, one, we don't have a lot of female CISOs in our industry. So I have a lot of respect for her in that. And I also know that she's put together just a really good team over there at Code 42. Yeah. So I'd love to hear about, how they've built their incident response capabilities. If she can share, an incident story or two, that would be helpful. But, being that she works as a CISO at Code 42, she's probably not going to be able to go that route.
I'm going to guess that's more going to be about, how do you build a program internally and that aspect of it, which is going to be a really good, counter to the other guys.
Totally true. Yeah. So Mark Lanterman, Mark is, he's got a lot of kids. I don't know why that just popped in my head, but he's a super good guy. When you talk about forensic investigations, he is definitely an expert. I mean, he does, him and his company do incident investigations for, I think, most, if not all of the law enforcement in this state, at least. BCA, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, I think uses him for all their forensic investigations. He does a lot of speaking, so he'll be able to bring a bunch of stories. He's a good storyteller. So I'm excited to have Mark Lanterman there. And then Chris Roberts. Chris Roberts, for people who have been around. Chris is very well known. He scares people.
I'm excited to meet him.
He hacks airplanes, which he shouldn't do, and he knows that now, so he doesn't hack airplanes anymore. But he's a character. He's got a beard longer than mine. I admire him because he does tell the truth, and he doesn't really care too much if it offends you, which I like. Now he works as more of a, he's not a CEO of a company, so he can be a little less politically correct than I can. He's kind of he speaks the way I speak in my head. Gotcha. He speaks the way I want to speak. Gotcha. But I have to I can't throw Effenheimers around like he can, right? Because I've got people who expect a different language from me.
So Chris speaks how you'll speak in 1,500 days.
That is very true.
Okay.
Yep. And so I have a ton of respect for Chris. He's very logical, very truthful. He has certain triggers, which is kind of fun. I do know what some of those are, so maybe I'll play a couple of those.
Poke him.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's flying in from Denver. He's got a ton of good stories too. I mean, the guy's legit. So that's going to be a great panel. I'm excited to hear what these guys got to have to say. And in one, it's sort of like, I mean, these are people that I really respect so much that you're like, gosh, why am I on the stage with you guys?
Right.
But
that's why you're moderating that on the panel.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
You're welcome.
No, thank you. But Chris will also tell stories. So Chris will be, this is the cool mix. Chris will tell stories in your face. Like the raw truth. Mark will tell you stories without that.
In
so
a
much
entertaining way.
Yeah.
Right.
And JD will give you the corporate perspective, I think.
Yeah.
So, it's a great panel.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. I think this is going to be, like, we've had really good panels, but I'm excited for this one.
And I want to take this, so I've kind of been talking with marketing. It's time to take this show on the road. Mm-hmm. We've been doing this in the Minneapolis area. It's time to start going to other parts of the country and getting other people involved and talking to them about security. So hopefully this will be a springboard for that. We still have some seats available. So September 19th at US Bank Stadium.
Last I heard is there was over 200 registered already.
Yeah.
I think that sounds right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's filling up quick. So if you want to go there, just go to hacksandhops.com and you'll see a registration there. Register, get your tickets before they get sold out. And I think with the ticket, you get like beer and stuff.
Yeah, you get some beer, right? And some appetizers.
Yeah, and if you come up and ask, talk to me, I'll give you my beer tickets.
Yeah, I'll give mine away too.
So there you go. Me and Brad will give you some extra beer for coming.
There you go. Yeah, it'll be good. I'm really excited. I think we're still working to try and get all of our IR team flown in for
that's cool.
For the kind of that time frame, and could we potentially do their training and get them at Hacks and Hops that week, and
wonderful,
kind of get some exposure.
That'd be cool.
So we'll see what happens. So one of the questions that came in, Jeff emailed us and said, incident response. What is minutia and what is a real incident? It seems contradictory to say some companies may not use their IR plan in a year, and to also say that every suspected attack, malware, scan, etc. is an incident. So,
this question came in on our Proton Mail.
Yep,
nice.
UNSCURITY at Proton Mail. So, that's an interesting question. I think where your IR plan comes in is where you're defining what is an event and an incident.
Bingo.
Right?
Not all events are incidents, but all incidents are events.
Right. So, you might have a lot of events, and it could be an incident where you've got a malware installed, but your antivirus catches it, or it quarantines it, but it requires manual intervention. Well, that should be defined in the IR plan. Mm-hmm. And that might be a, level 1 help desk. We don't need to engage the IR team. I think that maybe that's where that confusion comes in. At what point do we engage the IR team versus just using the plan to understand what the action should be?
Yeah, and I think, being that information security isn't a one size fits all, how you define an incident in your organization might be different than the way we define an incident in our organization.
Right.
And that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So looking for one universal definition,
I think the most important
there are plenty
thing,
of those, but I don't know how well that would fit for you.
No, but and regardless of how you define it.
Bingo.
That's the most important thing.
That's the first
how do
question we
people
ask.
know what's the difference? Let's define it and show.
Yeah, and you want it to be, because I've seen many organizations, define an incident too kind of gushy, too soft. Mm-hmm. Define it as specifically as possible so that there's no question that this is an incident and this is not.
Right.
Because, depending on where your incidents kind of get triaged, where they come in many cases, it'll be a help desk.
Right.
And so they'll need to discern, is this an incident or is it not?
And anybody who's worked in a help desk knows, you're not typically sitting around twiddling your thumbs. Like you got 50 things going on at any time. You got to make it easy and not logical, but just common sense to be able to go, okay, here's the steps. Here's what I need to do.
Right.
Boom. Okay. Yes. Incident, not incident.
Exactly. And so, once you've sort of defined these things are incidents, and maybe you start with some organizations struggle with just creating that definition. So create a series of events, right? A malicious code attack, a DDoS, just start listing different types of attack vectors, and then apply that to, look for a commonality of defining that this is an incident with some, because you'll have to provide that anyway. With your definition of an incident, you'll also have to provide some examples.
Right. Yeah. And I think one of the things with that managed service is going through the plan and defining that stuff. And I think with all the IR plan coaching and stuff that we've done, that is definitely an area where people struggle, right? Because they're like, it's ransomware, so it's an incident. Well,
in one organization, it might be.
Okay,
in another one, it might not be.
Is it on one machine? Is it on all machines? At what point? Where do you draw the line? Or right, the antivirus triggered. Well, we need to have an incident. We need to document that. Well, what level? Right. It could just be a ticket. It caught it. It didn't go anywhere. You got to define all that stuff and understand it.
Well, and it's funny because I like, as much as I can, I like black and white, right? So here's events. These are incidents. This is what an incident is. And once you've defined that this is in fact an incident, then you go through the classification of that incident. And you'll find some incident handlers who don't like to do classification and they'll give you the excuse that, but the classification changes, during the incident investigation. It's like, well, yeah, so then reclassify. Right. You know what I mean? Because the classification will tell me things like SLAs. How fast do I need to get this thing?
Absolutely.
They'll also tell me who I need to get involved. Right. I don't get the incident response team involved, meaning the big incident response
trigger,
team, when I have a virus,
alarms going off and people freaking out.
Yeah. If somebody fell for a phishing attack, is that an incident or is that an event? In my traditional definition, that is an incident. But then when you go through the classification, you find that it's a low severity incident.
Yep.
And I may have defined in my incident response plan that low severity incidents are handled at the help desk.
Right. Exactly. And, so looking at our kind of examples that we use, kind of a P1 critical incident, likely breach, and you've found the definition. Let me go back. Incident affecting critical systems or information with potential to be revenue or customer impacting. Application compromise, system compromise, denial of service, exploit of known vulnerability, privileged account compromise, unauthorized access to information, right? So we really define out. Now, that's just high level.
Right.
What exactly does application compromise mean? Well, exactly. That's that next step, and that's part of, your plan. But
yeah, absolutely.
Priority 2, login attempts, brute force, policy violations, social engineering. But again, we've classified it as a P2. What exactly does that mean?
Right.
We're not covering that. That's just setting kind of examples from
but that would come as your next step, right?
Right, exactly. Is going through the plan and saying,
well, it's like a big funnel, right? I mean, at the top, you have all these events, all these things that are happening all the time, right? Log things, triggers, blah, blah, blah. Some number, probably, hopefully, a small number of those things filter into an actual incident, right? And so when something becomes an incident, then these things happen. But you have to define what that incident is. And I think one thing that people struggle with is, one, they try to use somebody else's definition of an incident that just doesn't fit the language and the culture of their organization. And two, they try to get it perfect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? These are all plans that are meant to be revised.
Perfect.
Right. So don't try to get it perfect out of the gate. Start with a definition of incident.
Yep.
And then as you start triaging events, you'll start refining that definition of an incident, right?
Right.
I mean, there's nothing better than a trial by fire in these things.
Right.
You know, you don't want the whole plan. You don't want to not have a plan and trial by fire that way.
No, that's not good.
That's a bad way to do it.
I mean, the whole thing is, that's why we do lessons learned. That's why we do annual reviews.
Amen.
You're never going to have every recovery process documented. Same with disaster recovery.
Right.
The thought is you get enough of them in there, the big ones. If something that comes in that's not documented, you should be able to pull from those other things and then go back and fill in the blanks later.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
And no plan is meant to no plan is meant to, I guess,
it's not the be all end all, right?
Right. You still have to think.
Right.
You know, you'll still have to have some thoughts. You'll still have to think and make some decisions.
Guide you on the right decisions.
Right.
So hopefully that helped.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. Back to the question, what is the minutia and what is a real incident? Define it.
Yeah. Depends on the organization.
Right. We could certainly give you a definition, but you'd want to change it to your own. So to me, a real incident is what you said, but then we also have this challenge of, what's a breach? People have trouble defining what a breach is. So if you take this all the way back to our definition of information security, right? Which here it is again, it's managing risk to information, confidentiality, integrity, and availability using administrative, physical, and technical controls, right?
Yep.
So there's violations there of confidentiality, integrity, and availability, right? Which would be disclosure, alteration, destruction.
Right. So
to me, a breach is a compromise of data confidentiality. Because that's usually what most of the data breach laws are written about. They're not necessarily written so much about data integrity, but you could throw that in your definition too, if you wanted to. A violation of data confidentiality or integrity. Unauthorized access.
You are seeing that a little bit with HIPAA now.
For sure.
Ransomware where you've lost the integrity of that data. So.
So and then the question also is, it seems contradictory to say that some companies may not use their plan in a year, and to also say that every suspected attack, malware, scan, etc., is an incident. And so that's the definition. That's what we're saying. You need to discern event from incident. Because to me, a scan, in my definition of incident, a scan wouldn't be an incident.
Unless it's from the inside and you didn't do it.
Potentially. But, normally a scan, things getting triggered like that wouldn't define an incident. Malware would be an incident. A suspected attack,
but again,
triage that. But
I think the confusion maybe is that you should be using your IR plan for those things because it should be defined. That's what's driving how you handle and respond to those. Now, whether or not you trigger your actual IR team or not, you may not call your activate IR for a year.
Right.
But you should be, I'm going to guess you're going to be using the plan.
Well, that's the thing too about, plan testing. Some people think I should only test my plan. Some people don't test at all. Most people don't test at all. But the ones that do test think, well, annual testing is sufficient. Is it? I mean, you keep testing until you've got it down. You keep testing. So, I mean, even going by everybody else does it annually. Yeah, but if your incident response team didn't get it, if they through the test they all miserably failed, you need to do another damn test.
Yeah.
You don't wait for the next year to do this again. You do it next month.
We did
until people get it.
Yeah. We did for disaster recovery, but same concept. We did quarterly testing. Mm-hmm. It actually worked out better because it's 1 or 2 days, not a whole week.
It's like coaching on a football team, right?
The more you do it,
you keep running the drill until you get it right.
Yeah.
And and so I don't know I guess if in a perfect world we do 8 tests in a week until you guys get it right, and then once we get it right, then we can shelve it, for maybe a quarter.
Yeah.
But there should be no defined time. People got to get off of that mentality that
I should only at least annually, but doesn't mean only annually.
Right. I think instead of what I would be interested in, instead of when was the last time you tested your incident response plan, I'd rather show me the results of your last incident response test.
Yeah.
Because you should have documented the results. There should have been changes that came from that testing. And it should also give us a good indication of whether or not your incident response team will actually function the way it's supposed to function.
Right. Right.
So if it was, I don't want us to get on that thought pattern of, well, we test it annually. Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like well, I spend $2 million a year on my security budget.
I checked the box.
Okay, but so what?
Right.
Does it work? Yeah. So we need to everybody needs to start thinking, I think, more like that.
I'd agree. All right. Moving on.
So you got me going again.
I know.
Sorry.
It's fun. Last week was the Hacker Summer Camp in Vegas with Black Hat and DEFCON. Neither of us went for
others. Yeah.
For many reasons. And there were others as well. But B-Sides Vegas was there, out there, a couple others. But we sent 10 people from FRSecure combined between Black Hat and DEFCON. And our own guys, Team Ambush, were competing in Warlock Games CTF at DEFCON. So 2 years third place, last year second place. This year I said, win or don't come home.
And I haven't seen any of them today.
No, I don't think any of them were going to be in today. I actually don't know how they finished. The last update we got is they were tied for first with 16 hours left, I think.
I don't know.
Something like that.
Ben had given us a thing saying that they were tied for first even with 4 hours left.
Okay. So I don't know. Stay tuned.
Right.
No, it's really, it's great. I'm impressed with him. I did actually was joking with Oscar and told him if he didn't get first to threaten the guys that I would be going with them next year. So that was their motivation to capture first.
Right.
So we'll find out. We'll have to have an update. We'll get one from Oscar next week. He'll be here. So he was out there. So that'll be good. Mm-hmm. All right. We'll see how they did. Only one news item this week. Just a minor little thing.
Yeah, this one's interesting.
Yeah. So the security incident or incidents that AT&T announced. So for those of you that have not seen it, AT&T workers took over $1 million in bribes to unlock $2 million phones. Mm-hmm. Ars Technica has an article. Forbes, I think, has one. NPR has one. Those are all on the in the blog. But it was interesting because when I first read it, I was like, wow, they're claiming $9.5 million in loss. AT&T is, and I was like, how in the world are they doing that? Well, so the whole thing is if you purchase a phone and finance it for the 0% interest through your carrier, it's locked until you finish paying it off.
Right.
So what they were doing is unlocking phones prior to them being paid off.
Right.
And then people could just switch carriers, or those phones could be resold and gone elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So you might have a $700 phone, a $1,000 phone, and only paid off a couple hundred of it, if that.
Right.
And then they would. So I think that's part of how they're counting that loss. But it was interesting.
Yeah, because I could buy a phone on Craigslist, right? For
a
locked one. I'm just hypothetically for $400, and then sell it unlocked for $800.
Right, because you can go anywhere; it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
So it was interesting how they got in. So it was a Pakistani guy and with a co-conspirator,
Muhammad Fad.
Yeah, and they reached out and they got. I think it was three AT&T employees
so far.
Right. So far,
those are the ones that
pled guilty.
Yeah.
So the short of it is they basically use their accounts, and then the interesting part to me, I get people getting bribed, and one of the people got almost $500,000, and the other one had 150 or whatever it was. What was interesting is they installed malware on AT&T's internal servers and had access using these people's credentials through malware so they could remote in and do it and for 5 years.
Excuse me.
How in the world did they not notice the malware for 5 years?
Right. Well, these were call center employees too, right? So
Yeah.
call center employees had access to install things.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got some kind of an issue there, right? Why would a
Right.
call center employee have an admin access to install things on their computer?
Right.
I mean, I can understand having admin access maybe to a specific function, in the unlocking software or something, because that's part of their job responsibility. But to have the ability to install malware,
Yeah.
and they'd also had put access points. I mean, they'd gotten so bold that they brought in access points
Yeah.
into the network.
Yeah.
And planted malware. I mean, it's just like, what the hell?
Yeah. It was in April of 2013. So it was 4 years from when they actually planted malware on internal protected computers for the purpose of gathering confidential proprietary information on how AT&T's computer network and software applications functioned.
Yours says 2013?
That's in the RS. So the scheme was started in April of 2012.
Okay.
But the malware was installed in April of 2013. So they'd been doing it for a year and then said, all right, let's do this. So they got remote access.
Let's up our game.
So
Remote access, and I assume that, I don't know, that Muhammad Fad was in Pakistan or Hong Kong or somewhere overseas at the time that he was
so it should have
unlocking phones remotely through this malware.
Well, but if you think about, so my thought was, well, how did they not notice that he was coming in? But obviously they didn't he was getting in through this malware they didn't know.
Right.
And so the unlocks were coming from the internal network. My question is, I want to know how many people ended up being on it. How many unlocks did these people commit, and what's the average? Wouldn't that stand out? Don't you look at those metrics to say, hey, this, why has Evan unlocked 4 times as many phones as anyone else?
Right.
Right. If it's automated like that, if it's 2 million phones,
why are so many of these accounts being unlocked from this Pakistan IP address?
Well, but see, I don't think they caught that though.
No,
right?
they didn't. They didn't catch anything.
So,
I mean, I wonder how they finally did get caught. I haven't read the indictment, but
no, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't read it either. But
because it's crazy that on a big corporate network like AT&T, but this is a call center, so it's probably something, like most call centers, it's not at corporate headquarters, right? It's somewhere, but that you could. I mean, there's just a bunch of bad practices here. The fact that call center employees have the ability to install software on their systems is an issue.
Yeah.
The fact that they can bring in access points, plug them into your network without anybody knowing is also an issue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of issues here.
Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting reading through some of the comments and yeah, there's a lot of how in the world did the call center employees have access to do this? How did people from Hong Kong get a hold of people in Washington State?
Yeah.
It's,
It's a cluster.
Agreed.
It's obviously something that AT&T was completely blind to. I mean, they weren't watching.
No. Yeah, it'll be interesting because they have a huge cybersecurity service offering too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Good point.
They didn't catch their own stuff.
AT&T's a big. Yeah. Yeah, the emperor has no clothes.
Yeah.
So Fad faces 14 charges in U.S. District Court. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to violate the Travel Act and Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, 4 counts of wire fraud, 2 counts of accessing a protected computer in furtherance of a fraud, 2 counts of intentional damage to a protected computer, and 4 counts of violating the Travel Act.
Yeah. Not good.
Well, I don't know. It's crazy. And then these 3 who pled. It was interesting because now they're named.
Yeah.
Kyra Evans, Devon Woods, and Mark Sapatin. And Sapatin agreed to pay $441,000 in the plea agreement. Evans agreed to pay $280,000, and Woods agreed to pay $155,000. Did they just save the money? Because they're not going to have a job anymore. So
no.
if they had,
yeah, that's going to be, my guess is, right?
You're going to have to make payments.
Yeah, they're going to be
$1 a year for the next 400,000 years.
Well, and they're going to go to jail.
Yeah.
and they're going to get out, and how employable are they going to be? Mm-hmm. So my guess is that AT&T probably doesn't see much, if any, of that.
Of the restitution. Well, I mean, what's $9.5 million? I mean, what's $9.5 million to them?
Yeah, they don't care. That's that. Oh my gosh, I just went blank.
Cost of doing business.
Well, no, the making them pay back is
restitution.
Hey, restitution is to other people don't do this, right?
Right.
It's that whatever it is.
Yeah, and it's funny because Ars Technica, the author, John Brodkin, did reach out to AT&T and ask for comments on.
Yeah.
Did you do anything to stop this in the future? And AT&T didn't respond, which isn't surprising. But I'd really like to see a good case study on this, on how do you miss this?
Yeah.
Because everybody's susceptible to bribes, right? There's that saying, everybody's got a price.
Right. Right.
Ugh.
Yeah. I'd love to know. Yeah. How did they finally catch it? What malware was it that was going? How did they not catch it for 4 years?
Right.
Like, that's nuts.
Well, and especially call centers too, man. I mean, it's just crazy because usually call centers have such a high turnover rate. Usually you are hiring people that are younger,
mm-hmm.
that, are a little more money hungry, and I don't know if that's unpolitically correct to say, but.
Well, typically call centers don't pay real well.
Right.
So,
I mean, of all places where you really want to watch and surveil, it's the call center.
Right. Because they do have access to a lot of stuff for
obviously
legit business purposes,
right.
But it sounds like there were some issues there too.
Yeah. So, I mean, of all the places you want to surveil, it's going to be call centers. And then why wouldn't you? And I don't know much about AT&T, but there's culture things like, because I know in law firms, right, you make a recommendation that they put camera surveillance in a law firm.
Oh my gosh.
They're like, hell no.
No.
Privacy, 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 privacy. It's like, well, legally though, I don't think there's a privacy problem. I think it's just a culture problem.
Right. Like, well, the one I've heard for sure is we don't want our clientele to be identified.
Right.
Or be able to be identified. It's public court filings.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, there's definitely that. But then it's like, yeah, we're not publishing your camera surveillance.
Right. That's the other thing. It's investigative.
I'm not tweeting it.
Right.
Well, and so call centers, I'm surprised that they didn't have, better, and maybe they did, just not key logging, but, employee monitoring software, because there's a lot of that out there now that's pretty good. Yeah, it's just weird that this wouldn't have thrown up some red flag somewhere, because they'd gotten so bold.
Right.
Bringing in access points, they'd set up shell companies to get their payments. I mean, these guys were like seriously doing some serious stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's
And you unlock 2 million phones.
How many phones does? Yeah. Oh man, I want to know. I want to know the details.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if we'll ever find out. I guess if it continues going down the criminal path, But it did take them. I mean, he was indicted in 2017 and only became unsealed this year.
Yeah, so he was arrested in in 2018 in Hong Kong, and he didn't get moved to the U.S. until this month.
Yeah, so the indictment against him was filed in November of 2017, and like you said, he was arrested in February 2018, and it was just unsealed last week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's going to be a while before we find out, if ever, Now
I'm going to have to read the actual indictment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there.
Oh.
So anyway, read about that. If you have, and that's like in every organization with a high employee turnover, you have to increase monitoring. That's just how it works.
It's only a 21-page indictment.
Oh.
Second superseding indictment.
Is there an audiobook?
Yeah, right.
Wait for the movie?
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll read that because I don't have anything else going on.
Right.
All right. So there you go. that's how it is. It was great to be back. Thank you, Evan.
Well, thank you, man. It's good that you're back.
It is fun. I really do enjoy doing this every week. So
I do too.
And I want to, give a special thank you to the listeners. It really does blow my mind that we have that many people, and it's still really, really weird to me that people will walk up and be like, "Hey, yeah, I listen to you all the time." It's like, what? Why?
Yeah. Why do you listen to me?
But really thank you for everyone for listening and everyone who contacts us and interacts with the show. So it is really, it's humbling and really enjoy it. So,
and unfortunately we can't take everybody's feedback. We do read it all, but there are some, people who give us feedback that want us to talk about something in a show, and it's on a list. We'll eventually get to it. Yeah. It's just we can't talk about everything.
Yeah.
Every week.
No. So, but we do, like you said, love getting feedback. Please do keep it coming. Best way, reach out to us by email at unsecurity@protonmail.com. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show or nominate someone, please send us that. We're always open to.
We like talking to people, man.
Mm-hmm. It's fun.
People are more interesting than we are.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. No. We're very interesting. We just like
it adds a different dynamic.
It totally
really
does. Yeah.
So, all right. As always, you can find myself or Evan on Twitter. I'm at Brad and I, and Evan is at Evan Francine. And we will talk to you again next week.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the UNSECURITY podcast. We value our listeners and would love to hear from you. Give us your feedback by emailing us at unsecurity@protonmail.com. That's unsecurity@protonmail.com. Be sure to tune in next week to hear the latest insights from Brad and Evan.